Hello, and welcome to another edition of Ambient Talkie, a show where we dive into some weird and wacky equipment and wonderful, call it whatever you want, music. I'm Andy from Two Round Robins, and I hope that you're ready for a bit of sequencing on this one. When it comes to NORNS and its sequencers, I never really vibe with any of those to sequence my samples. Mostly because I'm a lazy guy who can't be bothered when hooking my NORNS to any other instruments or to a computer. The closest to full-on enjoyment with sequencing on NORNS came with Dream Sequence, which is a brilliant script by Modular Beat. The only drawback there is that if I wanted to use samples, I usually incorporated my secondary NORNS to play samples through the main NORNS mod, which is connected via Wi-Fi. And we will touch upon Dream Sequence far more in the future episode. As for now, I just want to jump into the latest from the legendary Infinitedigits. Today, we're gonna talk about Pitter Patter. So, let's talk about Pitter Patter, which is the latest from Infinitedigits, and it has everything that I need from a sequencer coming from NORNS. So that it's simple, that it has or gives immediate results, and it has its own onboard samples that I can use from the box without hooking up to any other instruments, which saves me some time and it's just far more simple for me. And Pitter Patter is mostly from the get-go, it's a, looking at Infinitedigits works, it's fairly bare bones, but it just reeks of good UI design. Basically what you have here is a screen where you can see the grid. This is your grid, so you need a grid in order for it to work. And it has a very, very simple premise. All you can do is basically just punch your notes in, or you can even play it here. So you can also have your MIDI keyboard hooked up here, and you can play it and it will just immediately record what it has. And for now, we're hearing the Pitter Patter sample, which is basically just I think it's a toy piano that is from MX Samples. And one thing that you should know here is that if you have MX Samples, which is like this little library that Infinitedigits made, where it takes some instruments from pianobook.co.uk site and it basically transforms it and downloads it into NORNS, meaning that some really cool instruments like pianos, like basically melodicas, banjos and all that can basically just live on your NORNS and you can use them. So now that we have and we're listening to this special little toy piano, by holding K1 and moving the encoder one, I changed it. And this is my favorite one. It's basically kawaii felt. As you can hear now, it's fairly low. So let me just jump ahead here and just try to boost the signal here a bit. And just like that, I created a little sequence. Now, what you might have noticed that I pressed this little button here, and what that does, it basically changes the octaves of this particular sequence. So let's say if you want a bit of low notes here, we can jump to our C2 or C1. And just like that, we have some interesting movements. And another way of creating interesting movements, and why this sounds so nice in a way, or at least human-like, it's because of the velocity that you have here. As you can see, these dots here, down here, this basically tell you which notes are gonna be a bit more, how would I say this? Are gonna be a bit louder and which one's a bit quieter. But you can change this by moving the K1 and then moving the encoder free. As you can see, now everything is straight. But let's change it back, because I really like this rather more human feel to the whole thing. And because I screwed it up and I didn't know the controls very well for this one, let's just talk about what encoder 2 and encoder 3 does without holding the K1. You can change the way how the playhead here acts. And this way now we have it so it's random, so it's moving up and down randomly. You can of course change it so it's ping pong, so it's gonna go to this side and then move again, or you can just have backwards or forwards. Usually when I try to make something that's a bit more abstract, I like to go with random. And this basically creates this jaunting little effect here, which I find quite nice. Also, if you hold K1 and move encoder 2, you can change the quantization or the rate of the measure. So let's try to go far slower, and let's try to add a couple of more notes. And you know, it creates a bit of jankiness, but that's what we like on this one, right? Okay, so as you can see, there's not quite a lot of things to do here on the main screen, but you can get really immediate results. Also, if you move encoder, encoder 3, you can basically move up and down on what it shows, like the octave. So now it shows the octaves from B0 to B2. And this now shows octaves from C1 to C3. And this does not change it does not change how the scale or the root node. This only changes the grid view. So you can check out if you have any sort of information up here or down. Basically just gives you a bit of more room with it. All right, now you might be asking, okay, so what else can we do? Well, we can go to sequence 2 and we're gonna use pitter patter. And if I hold this one down and this, it's gonna give me like this little arpeggio. Maybe even I can go down. But I don't know if I like this. I'm just gonna put them randomly. And this is how you create a bit more movement. Maybe even, maybe if we go to a very low one and just do this. Or maybe let's go even to a lower one. So we get a bit of those lovely low notes. And of course you can basically stack up to 4 of these here. But however, be very, very aware that because of the processing power of NORNS, if you have a bit too much from those MX samples loaded up, and these are, these are not really small files, they're quite large because they're actual samples and not synthesized sounds. These can become a burden on your little CPU on NORNS, so you better be very, very, what's the word? Very careful with it, let's say. However, this is not the only thing. If we go here back to the parameters menus and just go down, we can basically change stuff over here. So let's say, for example, firstly, I'm just gonna make the toy piano a bit quieter. I'm gonna put the probability to, let's say, something like this. And you can also change the scale. So now we're a major C0. However, if I move it to natural minor, it becomes very weird because maybe, I'm not sure. If I change it here, is it gonna be... No, this is still major. So yeah, you can have bitonal stuff with this one. So let's just put it on major C because we're very basic. But yeah. Anyways, you also have like different stuff. So you also have your options of using a MIDI out device, meaning that you can connect it to your computer or to any other instruments and just use this as a MIDI sequencer. So it just, generates MIDI to your other instruments. So that's pretty cool. You also have your little pan, so we can do this. So maybe just go in here. And then maybe, where do we have pan here? There we go. You can also, of course, use a, let's say, a more obtuse attack, fade time, and probably my favorite one that you can also use in built-in delays. So let's just put this back to, I'll just send it to delay and maybe use more reverb on the piano. And you can also use the what's this low pass filter. Let's just try. Yeah, that could be cool. So yeah, there you go. And you have something that's immediate. It creates immediate results. It creates something nice and which you can use in any way possible. Usually what I like to do is, because I use Dream Sequence quite a bit with Kawaii Felt, because I wanted something to sequence a nice little piano sample. I use that quite a bit. But problem with that was that it didn't have integrated stuff with MX samples like this has. And I think, Modular Beat, if you're listening or watching this, you did such an amazing job with Dream Sequence. I really love it. But, I'm pretty certain you're very, very, very talented coder that can put MX samples on that as well. So, please do that. That'd be grand. So yeah, that's more or less it on this one. It wasn't a long one, as you can see, but I just really wanted to jump in, show a bit what infinitedigits made, and basically talk about probably my favorite NORNS sequencer as of now. So yeah, Zach, aka infinitedigits, made a lovely guide through the script as well in video form. which I'll paste in the description down below, so check out that as well. If you want to support this channel, you can become a Patreon, where you get some exclusive content as well as sample libraries at, each month. So that's cool. You can also join the Discord, buy my music off of Bandcamp, or just, do the little subscribe and like this video. I'm trying to reach 4,000 by the end of the year, and hopefully, I'll reach that. We'll see. But anyways, most importantly, have a great rest of your evening, morning, or whenever you might be watching, and I'll see you next time. So take care.